Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to day 2 of BAC 2017. We only have 3 speeches today in conference room 1, but the 3 good ones. We're going to be talking about Facebook, and then we're going to be talking twice more about content marketing today. So you're in the right spot. But our first speech is Winning Facebook Advertising Strategies, 5 powerful ways to leverage your results in ROI. Facebook's making changes all the time, adding new products and services, and the user experience is changing as users get more sophisticated using Facebook. What worked 5 years ago may not work today. So we've asked Mr. Vince Castro to come over and give you a presentation on what strategies are working today and how you can improve your ROI from Facebook. We're using something called Slido. If you have questions, you can go to slido.com, #BAC, and ask your question anytime during the speech, and then all of the questions will come up at the end. Of course, if you want to raise your hand and ask your question, like in the olden days, you're more than welcome to do that too. But in the meantime, let's hear what Vince has to say and learn what we can do on Facebook 2017 and 18. Vince.
Thanks, Mike. So, as Mike said, I'm Vince Castro. I'm the head of marketing for Orbex, which is a regulated Forex broker in Cyprus. And I'm here to talk about Facebook strategies and what's working now and what's going to be working in the years to come. So, obviously, if you don't worry about taking pictures of the slides that I'm talking about, I'll be putting my email address at the end of the presentation, and if you want access to them or any other questions, you can email me directly and I'll respond. So here's a quick agenda that I'll be talking about today. Goals. It's time to rethink your goals. If you are currently doing Facebook marketing, and if you're not, you seriously need to get into the game. Content. What's working, what's not, what we can do about it. Promotion. How to use Facebook to promote your brand. Conversion. Talking about generating leads, building lists, new ways to be effectively gathering new lists of customers with Facebook. And then community, which is sort of the glue that puts it all together, is not just trying to get the top of the funnel, but also talking about how to maintain your existing customers. And then a little bit at the end about the future of Facebook. So, first question that most people were asking back in the day was, why Facebook? Well, now it's easy. You're talking about a marketplace of 2 billion monthly users and 1.3 billion users per day. So, you've got access to the biggest biggest marketplace online, and obviously for the cheapest cost. The problem is that we're all fighting to gain attention of the users that are on Facebook. So not only is it about telling your story, telling the people why your product is the best or why your service is the best, but at first we have to find a way to get people's attention, because people are constantly bombarded with more information on Facebook now. So trying to cut through that is getting more difficult. So again, rethinking your goals. In the old days, the metrics that people were using to find success on Facebook was page views, likes, fans. It's time to rethink that and start thinking more long term. You know, about the customer journey, the lifetime value of the customer. Are they engaged? Is our content aligned with the people that we're targeting? So I wanted to talk a little bit about how Facebook's algorithm works and about what's happening now. So Facebook has announced that it's running out of ad inventory, that 90% of the users on Facebook are on their mobile device now. So back in the old days, it was a more even split of desktop and mobile, and there was a lot more inventory on a desktop. There was the news feed, there was the right column, there was the ad networks. Now with it being almost exclusively mobile, you've lost a lot of inventory. Now it's just simply in the feed. Every 3 or 4 items in the news feed, there's a sponsored ad. That's Instagram or Facebook. So there's less ad inventory, there's more advertisers, and everybody's fighting for it. So again, to cut through the noise, it's getting increasingly more difficult. The answer of one of the most effective ways to get through this is, without a doubt, is video. Now, video is the one area on Facebook that we're going to be talking about in terms of trying to get more engagement. Facebook Live was the big jump that Facebook did in order to get more engagement out of their tool and to keep more eyeballs and time on site. So social media, without a doubt, consumes video more than any other type of content. So, and it's becoming more real time. People want to know what's happening now. There's that fear of missing out on what's happened. So because of that, Facebook Live is the perfect tool to get more engagement. You can place it in your feed, you can place it on a page, you can do it in a group, but without a doubt, that's the direction that things are going. This graphic here is an example of something that they're rolling out in the US, and they're going to be rolling it out worldwide next year. But what it is a video-only feed option in the Facebook tool. So when someone's scrolling on their phone, if they don't even want to waste their time seeing an image or seeing any other post other than video, they're going to be given the access to do that. And that's Facebook's way of keeping people engaged on what they want. So if you're not in the game, if you're not creating video, if you're just simply doing the old ways of post, you may not even get in front of anybody organically, period. Because now there's going to be a way to filter that out before you even get a chance. So you need to keep that in mind. Strategy, just keep in mind as we're talking through that you need to have a cohesive strategy across all the different actions you're doing, online, but specifically on Facebook. So what your organic content is, what your ads are, what you're doing with Messenger, what you're doing in your groups, they all need to be a cohesive story on what your business is trying to sell or what it's trying to say. Otherwise, if there's fragmented, then people are going to not be able to follow. On your strategy, is there an end-to-end strategy? As marketers and as business owners, we tend to always focus at the top of the funnel, trying to build lists, gather leads, hit people with sales. But are we forgetting about our current customer base? Are we trying to take care of them? Are we trying to help our existing customers through their journey? Are we trying to understand feedback? So keep that in mind. You're using things like surveys, questionnaires, or doing a live Ask Me Anything video. These are the kinds of things that you can do to keep your customers engaged, keep positive feedback coming, and maybe even prevent negative feedback before it happens. This is a quote from Dennis Hughes, a well-known Facebook expert. And he says, 95% of broken Facebook campaigns have an issue with goals, content, and targeting, as opposed to anything that can be solved by knowledge of Facebook ads. So what that basically means is, if you have a failing Facebook campaign, it's not due to the fact that the platform is complicated, that there's any issue where you haven't figured out how to do it. It's simply, have your goals been in line with the content you're producing, and is your content being targeted to the right eyeballs? Because we tend to try to go broad. There's a very cheap way to get a lot of eyeballs to your Facebook ads, but if they're not targeted, then they're not engaged. And if they're not engaged, then it's going to be a failed campaign. So we're going to talk a little bit about that more coming up now about content, but just keep in mind, I want to keep reiterating that the old ways of the fans and the likes and the engagements is not what you need to be thinking about now. It's about the lifetime value, your relevancy score. Facebook scores the relevancy of your content to the people that see it, the same way Google did with AdWords. So you need to be thinking about that. We need to be more relevant, and Facebook then rewards you for the content you're putting out. And of course, your return on ad spend is without a doubt something you need to be thinking about when it comes to any Facebook campaign. So what's working? As I've said, video, 100%. So it's still largely underutilized. Buffer did a study, and they analyzed 6 million posts out of 100,000 businesses. And what they found was, on a positive side, that video gets 3 times more engagement than any other type of content. But on the negative, out of these 100,000 businesses, 80% of their posts in any given week were simple link posts, 19% were photos, and 1% was video. So there's a massive gap between what's working and what people are actually producing. So this poses a big opportunity for all of us. If you want to be considered a thought leader in your niche, or if you want to simply start getting in the game and building engaged users in whatever field that you're in, there's opportunities similar to how YouTube was 10 years ago. There's not a lot of video creators out there yet, and it's not difficult. We're not talking about studio quality videos. We're simply saying produce content in a manner that people can engage with. So Facebook, recommends that all videos should be optimized for mobile. And what they say the number one thing is square videos or portrait, as opposed to landscape. So this is a simple video that was created just to illustrate the point of square videos versus landscape. So they get 28% more views, they get more likes and shares, they take up 78% more screen space than landscape, they have a 67% higher completion rate, people look at it 5 times longer at video than static content, 90% of Facebook users access on mobile, they find it easier to pay attention to video on a phone versus a computer, much more likely to consume online video than computer users, and encourages to optimize. So this is a simple video. It was created by a tool called Animoto. I'll put a list on it later. And that's a very simple tool that video was able to be created in about 15 minutes. And this is the kind of things that anybody can do. Anybody's marketing department can do. It's not difficult. One of the biggest problems that people were facing, especially in Facebook, was trying to address is mobile sites nowadays are getting larger in file size, and it's taking longer for sites to load on people's phones. And nowadays, if your site takes longer than 5 seconds, you can basically kiss 3/4 of your traffic goodbye because people won't wait. So this is something that Facebook rolled out last year called Canvas ads, and this is one of their solutions to the problem. So if you have a website and you haven't figured out how to get it optimized and get it running fast, Facebook says, don't worry about it, use our solution. So this is an example of a cruise line of what they did. So they created an ad, that's the ad in Facebook in the feed. If someone engages, it's a full screen immersive experience that the Facebook calls, called Canvas. You can load it up with all kinds of content, you can make it scroll as far as you want, similar to a mobile website. And if you can have multiple call to actions here. So you can drive them to your site when they're more engaged. It's instant. And even if you didn't want to do that, you can actually use Facebook to capture the lead within Facebook. So you never even have to send the person off Facebook to gather the lead, to build your list, to get a registration. So these are the kinds of things that Facebook is doing, and they're saying, look, make it more interactive, make it more interesting, and we'll give you the tools you need to do it. So this is something that, for small businesses, if the website's not optimized yet, these are options and they're all available relatively easy. Now, I wanted to give an example, because I always hear from people that, we don't have the tools, we don't have the skills to create video, and it's just not true. This was an example of something my company did. So my team put this post on the left. It was just a simple blog post to something that Trump had done in the media, and we were getting some decent engagement out of it. So I took the same image, I put it through a tool called Lumiere, but there's a million of them, and we created a looping video. It's no video experience needed, but we just added something in there just to capture people's eyeballs, and we reposted that looping video on Facebook. And we had more than 5 times the engagement, we had the click-through rate was through the roof, and it took 10 seconds to do. And so this is just a very simple example, but what I'm trying to show is that the next step of what we're doing with Facebook is it's list building. Once you start producing video, the number one thing you're doing is you're creating custom audiences. So if you put a 1-minute video out, Facebook by a default will create a list of anybody who watched your video for more than 3 seconds. So that's great. So you know anybody that watched, because 3 seconds is pretty much how long it takes to skip through it. But you can also say, how many people watched half of my video? How many people watched 90%? How many people watched my video till completion? And you can create lists of all these different groups. So by logic, you know that somebody that watched 100% of your video is way more engaged than somebody who watched 10 seconds. So why would we think as marketers to target those different groups of people with the same marketing message? You know that someone's more engaged when they've watched the whole video, so target them with something completely different, something more aggressive, something that's further along the sales cycle, because they're probably hotter to buy your service or more interested in speaking about it. So that's the first thing. On the flip side, another experiment that we had run that was really successful was we put a video out, and what we said in the first 3 seconds was, if you aren't interested in trading Forex, don't watch this video. And so what we did was we were able to build a list at that point after weeding out anybody who wasn't interested. So if I wasn't sure who I was targeting, I knew that anybody that wasn't interested in Forex, they would just simply close the video right off the bat because I told them to. So anybody at that point that watched the whole video, I know they're in my sweet spot. They're my target customer because they've actually watched it after being told that. The other thing, and I'm curious, has anybody here used lookalike audiences on Facebook? So you guys are ahead of the curve. So lookalike audiences is without a doubt the secret sauce to scaling marketing campaigns. So what it is you're simply saying, I have a list of people that I think are my target customers. And what you do is you tell Facebook, give me now a lookalike audience that matches these people exactly with all the different factors that Facebook can analyze. So they now will then go out and produce a list that's 10 times the size and says, this is the people we recommend that are exactly a match to your target customer. And you can target them with whatever message you want. You can slice and dice the lists. And so that right there is how you can expand your marketing campaigns. When you finally find something that works, you can scale it upwards very quickly. But the main message I'm trying to get out when it comes to video is just get started. You know, it's not hard. This is a list of tools that go from free to paid, but are very, very cheap. Animoto, you saw what I created with the Square video. That took nothing. Wave is a great one that has a lot of stock videos and stock photos, so you can create a lot of different videos very quickly. Adobe Spark is free, but only for Mac users. So if you have a Mac, download it, check it out, it's completely free. And Filmora by Wondershare is another great one. There's a million templates, you can create all kinds of content, and you know, they're very professional looking. Promotion. So here's where Facebook differs from Google. Google is intent-based. So when you have a keyword and you know someone is in the buying process, you can be extremely aggressive with the ad and with the content because you know that that person is right then and there ready to buy. With Facebook, it's not like that. It's more, you need to be more engaging. They need to be engaged, they need to be entertained, they need to be trusting you as a content provider, and then you can go in for the cycle. So I wanted to give you an example of one of the more famous viral ad commercials that came out. It was by a startup in the US called the Dollar Shave Club. And they launched the startup, they had no marketing budget, and they produced this video as their first thing to sort of enter the market, and it took off and went completely viral, and everybody knew about it within a matter of weeks. So I just wanted to play this video here.
I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis.
And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, Pop-Up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
Okay, so that's a perfect example. I mean, the comedy aside, it's a perfect example of a great video ad because it was clear, you know exactly what they're offering, you know exactly what their value proposition is, and you know obviously that took a little bit more spend to produce a video like that, but I mean that just hit all the different marks when it comes to a video ad, and that, like I said, that thing went viral. It's got over 50 million views on Facebook and probably double that on YouTube. And everybody knew about it. I mean, they had subscriptions right off the bat that were through the roof. So right? You can see what happens when something is entertaining. So a couple of points to take away when it comes to creating quality video. You know, we're talking about from the first frame, it's got to be quality because, like I said, you've got only 3 seconds before someone decides if they're going to watch it or they're going to scroll past it. It's got to be high energy. It's got to be entertaining, educating. It needs to evoke an emotion because Facebook basically says that for all your video views, 40% of them are shares. So people typically don't share content unless they've engaged with it somehow, whether they found it funny or sad or makes them angry or whatever. So you need to tap into that. And the last thing is remember that most people by default, when they're scrolling through Facebook, their audio is turned off. So even though that video there didn't have captions, I would advise always using captions when someone's speaking, or at least having lower third text to kind of lead people along the way. This is a quote from Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook. He came out with this recently, and he was saying, you know, that the goal of Facebook is to get to the point where ads are as relevant and timely as the content your friends share with you. And this is interesting because this gives you an idea of the mindset of where Facebook is heading, is that they don't want to be another marketplace where they're like banner ads. People are just putting transactional messages up. They are going to get to the point where they are going to highly reward people whose content is content. It's engaging content. It's leading people along the way by educating them, as opposed to just straight out ads. And they're starting to already show that in terms of the preferences that they do with certain advertisers and how much some people pay versus others. You know, some of the things that Facebook recommends, you know, they call it thumb stopping content, but it's basically, you know, if you're scrolling, content that makes you stop. Evergreen content is something that they call content that doesn't have a shelf life. So, you know, if you put out a piece of content today that says something about what Trump said in the media, it's probably got a shelf life of a week, and then they move on to something else. But if you put a piece of content out that talks about something about educating people in your industry, or, you know, something that's a little bit more long-term, then you've got multiple ways to get value out of that content, and multiple people at different times of their sales cycle will come back to view your content. So again, that's where you need to start creating longer-term content. When posting, always organically, let from 1 to 24 hours, let things organically go. Let's see how Facebook and how people react to your content. Once you see that, if you see a better than average response, then you know to scale your budget up because it's performing better than it should. And vice versa, if you see your content negatively performing worse than normal, then don't put the same budget that you were going to plan towards it because you're probably going to waste your budget. So it's a constant battle of what's working and what's not. Negative feedback, this is definitely something you need to be aware of. Facebook very much treats negative feedback importantly. So, you know, for every one negative feedback that somebody places on your post or on your ads, that counts for 100 positive likes, comments, and shares. So the point you need to always remember is try to get ahead of that. If somebody reaches out to your business on Facebook, whether it's through Messenger or through your page, and they ask you a question or they complain about something, deal with it right away. Get them to not continue to get into this fight with you on your Facebook page, because ultimately it's going to end up affecting you poorly. I recommend always running, if you're creating ads on Facebook, run it on all the different placements to start. And if you see things underperforming, then you can turn them off. But you never know when something's going to work on Instagram or on different placements. So don't sell yourself short without starting it. Don't waste your time trying to figure out how to manually bid. Facebook's optimizing is great when it comes to the pricing model. And when you're boosting, never just let Facebook's default boost. What they do is they just blast it out to as wide a variety of people as possible. Always try to have your saved audiences, create different segments. Like I said, if you're building lists with video or you're trying out different segments, have saved audiences ready for this. Here's something that you need to be aware of if you want to start getting into advertising on Facebook. Is Facebook says that they're going to give preferences to what they consider a sophisticated advertiser versus a newbie. So they want to know that you're in it for the right reason and you're in it for the long haul. So the things that you need to start thinking about as an advertiser is installing the Facebook Pixel. Anybody out here that's doing Facebook ads, if you haven't installed it, it's a must. You have to do it. Setting up conversion events. So notifying Facebook when the action you want people to do on your website actually is happening. It allows Facebook to know that their campaigns are working or not. And retargeting. Again, it's a no-brainer. If you're not retargeting visitors from your website back to Facebook, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. People are already engaging in your brand. Why wouldn't you want to engage with them on Facebook after they've left your website? We've already talked about custom audiences and lookalikes, using the ad manager, and then for objectives, there's a whole bunch of different objectives you can do when creating a campaign. You can start off easy with just trying to build traffic or views, but then eventually you can start experimenting with conversions, with product engagement, or building even leads. This was a study done by a company. They were looking at actions by Fortune 500 companies on Facebook, and it was amazing to see that 90% of the Fortune 500 companies that were doing Facebook activities were doing it wrong. They hadn't installed the Pixel, they hadn't set up conversion events, they were just sort of running it blind. Probably paying an agency that they didn't even vet and say, here, go for it, run our Facebook, not really thinking about, is this actually going to be a legitimate marketing channel? So on the left here, you can see there's a much higher conversion just simply from someone using Facebook Pixel with the same campaign, and on the right, it's almost half the cost. So that's mind-blowing that we'd be sacrificing that much spend just by not doing something. I know this looks complicated. I just wanted to give a screenshot for those that have no idea what I'm talking about. But in Facebook, if you just go into your setup, and you can literally view or email the code. So this code just simply needs to be given to your tech guy and say, put on every page of our website. It doesn't have to be anything more complicated than that, and you're good to go. Community, I don't really need to reiterate it too much, but community, don't forget your existing customer base, because as we're constantly trying to build the funnel, you don't want to lose out on your existing customers, because they still bring a lot of value, and if they're engaged, they're going to be advocates for your brand on Facebook moving forward. Just wanted to briefly say about the future of Facebook. They're moving in the direction of streaming video. Amazon, Netflix, Spotify, all these companies, they're all getting into the streaming video space, and that's exactly where Facebook wants to be. So, they're already starting to produce 30-minute episodes of original content. They're obviously encouraging all of us to create original content as well. But by 2020, TV's ad spend in the US is being predicted to drop below 1/3 of total media ad spend for the first time. So there's no coincidence. That money's not going away. It's just being shifted. And this is where Facebook wants to be. They want to compete with YouTube, they want to compete with Google, and they want to get a piece of this pie. So video is not only now, but it's definitely moving forward. So if we're not doing this as business owners or as marketers, now's the time to get into it before everybody else gets in. And I didn't cover it in this presentation, but I just wanted to briefly mention messaging apps. If you don't know what WeChat is, that's where Facebook wants to take WhatsApp and Messenger. So if you don't know what it is, go on YouTube, check out a video by the New York Times on WeChat. It's the Chinese messenger app. It's wild. It does all kinds of stuff, and that's where Facebook's going with WhatsApp. So check it out. It's something to think about probably for next year. And lastly, I covered most of these, but these are the things to not do on Facebook ads. So these are the common mistakes. But for the most part, we said, not having the right KPIs, make sure you install the Pixel, retargeting, have exclusions from retargeting. So, obviously if you're retargeting traffic on Facebook, there's a lot of times there's no need to retarget if they're existing customers already. So exclude those, deal with negative comments, and make sure that you give all the different ways that they want to communicate with you available. And that is the completion.
Vince, thank you. Simon, do we have anything on our Slido? Okay, first question. Will banks regulate crypto? How bank will evolve around cryptos? Okay, I don't think that's a question for you, though.
Well,
Okay,
I mean,
good shot, though. You know what? I think they're doing crypto next door, and we're probably sharing the same hashtag. And that's probably why we have that. So let's forget about that. We could raise hands. Who has a question?
My question is, how do I create canvas ads? Is it all created in Facebook, or do I use any tool for it?
yeah, sorry. In the ad manager of Facebook, there's different options. So it'll ask you, do you want to create an ad with a single image? Do you want to create an ad with a carousel? And one of the options is, do you want to create a canvas ad? And once you hit that, it then shows you all the parameters of, you need to put an image this big, or you can put a video, and it's all in the ad manager. You can walk through it. There's a ton of YouTube videos, obviously, that'll walk you through how to easily create them. They're not difficult.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, any more questions? Let me see, I think I have one. What do you recommend, Vince? Should I in-house or should I outsource my Facebook strategy?
Well, I mean, I'm always a big fan of doing things in-house. You know, from my experience with social media and outsourcing it to agencies, they're not going to be as invested in the success of your business as you are. And a lot of times, there's ways there's the ways they cut corners. I would say for something as important as a digital marketing channel on your business, somebody in your business needs to take the reins and say, I need to understand this better. Spend a weekend, go through a bunch of videos, understand it, because this is a more important channel than most. I mean, it's Facebook. We bring in more business through Facebook now at my company than we do through Google Ads. So it's crazy for me to outsource that as a marketer and have no idea what these guys are doing versus understanding it and having someone in-house that can learn it properly.
Well, let's say I want to do it in-house. What is my time commitment? How many man-hours per day do I need to look at in order to run my campaign successfully and optimized?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, depending on your budget, I would say ideally, I mean, if you have a full-time marketer, I would say they're going to spend probably, I'd say a couple hours a day maintaining their Facebook campaigns, because it's so much reactive. You can do so much quickly. It's probably it's not like Google where you kind of turn it on and wait a week and go and check in on your campaigns. It's a daily activity.
So our next question is about black hat campaigns. What's your opinion, and what do you think about using cloaking techniques to stay ahead of the game, obtain higher click-through rates and better KPIs?
Well, I mean, if you can figure out how to do things and not get caught, I guess that's a competitive advantage. One of the things that I guess would be considered black hat that Facebook now is sort of outlawing was what they call dark posts. And this is going back a few years. So what it was you could create an ad, never put it live, so it was an unpublished post, but then I could target specific people with it. So what that allowed me to do is be very aggressive, not worry about ruining my brand, and target very specific types of people. And Facebook finally caught on recently and said that they're going to start forcing us to actually post it on your page. So that, I guess, technically would be considered a kind of a black hat. But at the end of the day, I'm not in favor of anything that you could get your Facebook account blocked, because if that happens, you know, you're starting from scratch again. So I would advise against that.
Okay, any final question for Vince? Yes.
Hello, my name is Remus. It's any way to promote on Facebook to make an ad for a group, a larger group?
Yeah, 100%. So you mean to promote that you've got a Facebook group and you want people to join?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the Facebook will not allow you to promote to make an ad, especially for a group.
Well, yeah, I mean you can't create an ad specifically and target it, but I mean you obviously can go to other groups. You can target other groups and say, come join our group, or you can go and become members and drive people back to your group. So there are ways to do that. But doing a full paid campaign, I don't think so. Yeah, they don't allow you to target that as the destination. But then again, you could do an ad to a landing page, and that landing page says, we've got this group. So yeah, there's ways around that for sure.
Any final questions? Yes, last one.
Recently, Facebook had introduced the new target and low, max bid for the bidding structure. As a result, they also changed when you're optimizing for conversion that you have to have at least 50 conversions for that ad set before it kicks out of the learning mode. Regardless of how many conversions your pixel has seen, have you figured out a way to circumvent that 50 per ad set?
No.
Because anytime you change the ad or even the specifics within the ad set, it goes back into learning mode regardless of seeing the 50
You're right.
conversions.
Yeah, I have not. I mean, it's something that I would love to do, but I have not as of yet figured out how to beat that. But yeah, definitely. If I do, I'll let you know.
All right, Vince, thank you very much. A round of applause for Vince, please.
Thanks, guys.